because, number one, there's a reason why we never promoted Extreme Reuion. And if people that are listening could care less about this, you'll find it enjoyable, and you'll also understand why the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show don't bring up things just to bring up things. And here's another example why websites out there that actually try to charge you money to read their news, how they try to dictate, they try to sway people, influence people, what they should watch, what they shouldn't watch, what they follow, what they shouldn't follow. If you're going to report news, throw the fucking news out there and let people decide on their own what they want to do, where they want to go, who they want to pay, who they want to see. You don't fucking shower them with article after article and interview after interview and blah, 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 blah. So you'll find this interesting even if you don't give a shit about ECW or you were never a fan of them. And what I wanted to say at the beginning of the show tonight, and I completely forgot because Kev was talking about Lord Tensai, Don Tony has been saying for months, my favorite wrestler in WWE is Chris Jericho right now. My favorite character in WWE is John Laurinaitis. I've been saying it for months, and I absolutely love the idea that he's taking on John Cena at the pay-per-view. I am definitely looking forward to that. Anyway, Extreme Reuion. When Shane Douglas announced this project, we reported it the first day on the show. I brought it up. I think Missionary was on also. I think Kev was laughing at it. I said, you know what? I wish them all the best. When they start announcing people like Balls Mahoney, all I kept thinking about is New Jack talking about how Balls Mahoney is all having the problems with the drugs right now and is not doing well and, you know, all the shit like that. When they announced Just Incredible, we know about the issues Just Incredible has, you know, with drugs, and he's got a problem. So, you know, we got Balls Mahoney and Just Incredible. Then they announced Raven, and Raven has said in the past, you know, he does these for paydays, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but he is not, like, really into the idea of having an ECW reunion show. Of course, if it's paid well, he'll be a part of it, but there's not that much energy and investment into it. And by the way, for those that are listening live, you know, I apologize if you know you had a little bit of an issue with I guess it was internet on my end, but anyway, just to get back to what I was saying, and I apologize for people listening on the download, but anyway. You know, so we have Balls Mahoney, we have Just Incredible, we have Raven, who's there more for a payday. New Jack, you know, is there more for a payday. Of course, he wants to, you know, enjoy the moment. You know, he always busts his ass. I mean, you know, they want to do everything they could do. Sabu, we know how he has been. You know, he's obviously up there in age. His career is coming to a close. If you remember the TNA stuff, you know, it wasn't that good at all. You know, so basically, you know, everybody I mentioned so much, you know, is really, you know, what's there to look forward to. Jerry Lynn, look, Jerry Lynn is an awesome wrestler. He said this year was his last year. Jerry Lynn always puts on a phenomenal match, but is Jerry Lynn the reason why you're going to go see an ECW reunion show? Just Incredible, Balls Mahoney, New Jack, Raven, you know, Jerry Lynn, you could see them on indie shows across the United States all the time. These guys have wrestled on New York and Pennsylvania and Florida, New Jersey, over and over and over and over and over again. So all the guys that we mentioned, we've seen, they've been saturated on the Northeast, all right? But because it's an ECW reunion show and because Shane Douglas is heading it up, you know, obviously there's a little bit of a different feeling on it, a positive vibe, okay? Then you got Al Snow. We don't see Al Snow much anymore. So you know what? Al Snow always puts on a great match. I'm fine with that. C.W. Anderson, honestly, I could care less about C.W. Anderson. I know he had health issues, you know, in the past, but, you know, he's doing better now. Obviously, you want to see the guy work and get a paycheck. But am I going to go to an ECW reunion show to see C.W. Anderson? Absolutely not. All right. FBI, always entertained by the FBI. Tracy Smothers, at the last minute, decided he wasn't going to be part of it. He's pretty much done with the wrestling business. Little Guido, we see on the Northeast. Tony Mama Luke, we see once in a while. Stevie Richards, Blue Meanie. Are these guys that you really are going to all of a sudden go into your pocket and pay over $100 to see them? Now, obviously, there was tickets there that were cheaper. Balls versus Axel, we've seen on the Northeast over and over again. But those are basically the guys that were being advertised. So, so when this came out and these guys were being advertised, we mentioned it on one show. We wished them the best. I hope Shane Douglas was going to do well with the show. And that was it. And then what was happening was there was article after article, after article, after article, after article on PW Insider about this shit. Oh, PW Insider, Shane Douglas talks about the show. C.W. Anderson talks about the show. Blue Meanie reminisces on ECW. Little Guido talks about the show. Do you know, people, I invite anybody out there to go on Google and go search it yourself. Go in advanced search and go type in pwinsider.com and in the parentheses type in Extreme Reunion. Do you know, as of Sunday, do you know that PW Insider and Mike Johnson put up 137 articles about Extreme Reunion, people? 137 articles. Go look for yourself. 137. You think that's a little obsessive? For one fucking reunion show with guys that have mostly been saturated already on the Northeast? 137 articles. He does a bus trip. He charges everybody $133 a person to go see this show. He does pickups. Queens, New York City, Rahway, New Jersey. Look, if he can get people to go on these bus trips, God bless him. But 137 articles on PW Insider to push this stuff. Why do I keep bringing it up? Because of one fucking sentence that Mike Johnson said today. Anyway, I am not going to get into the recap of this show. You could go on the internet and you could see all the results. You could see people chanting refund and this show sucks and, just absolutely shitting on the show altogether. Sabu gets rushed to a hospital before the show starts because he is partying in a hotel room with Just Incredible and two other wrestlers, which I will not name, but not really well-known wrestlers. But, in the Northeast they have, notoriety, but not really known for ECW. But they partied and partied hard. And Sabu basically passed out. And Sabu, I don't want to say that, that it was a life or death situation. It really wasn't. But the guy was in no condition to perform whatsoever. So they actually sent Sabu to the hospital. Now, when you see these websites saying, paramedics were there for 25 minutes, it's because they connect all these wires to your chest. They monitor your heartbeat. It just takes like 10, 15 minutes to do. Then they put you on a stretcher, and then they wheel you out, and then they put you in the ambulance, and it can take 20, 25 minutes. It's the only reason why Sabu was seeing paramedics for 25 minutes. So Sabu is not on the show now. The main event, Sabu versus Shane Douglas, is not going to happen. Another match, Jerry Lynn versus Just Incredible, is not going to happen because Just Incredible is in no condition to perform. Isn't it ironic, people, that last week I mentioned on this show about a story not too long ago, friends of mine that were there and saw Just Incredible with people, and before an indie show, he actually did heroin. And I talked about it last week, and I mentioned it a couple of months ago, but I never told the story. I said, I don't want to bring it up. And I brought it up last week, not because to try to fuck with the show in any way, shape, or form, but because Justin Credible did an interview last week talking about his past addictions and that it's a battle every day and this and that. But he made himself portrayed as if he's overcoming the demons. And it just really annoyed me to do an interview like that. And meanwhile, a month before, you're here in the Northeast having people get you heroin. So now, 1 week later, after we talked about it on the show last week, Justin Credible gets thrown off of Shane Douglas's show because he's in no way, shape to perform. So the show gets shitted on completely. You go read the recaps. I don't need to get into everything. I feel bad for everybody that was part of that show because I know they really wanted it to work. Like I said, I give Shane Douglas all the credit in the world to get 2,000 people to this building and get them to go to this show. Did Shane Douglas know that the show was going to bomb as it was? No, absolutely not. All right, is Shane Douglas ecstatic that he got Mike Johnson to publish 137 articles? And anyway, somebody sending me a link that Axel Rotten was injured in a car accident. Hold off on that link. I'll read it after. Apparently this might have just happened, so maybe we'll finish up with that tonight. But anyway, just to finish up this whole Extreme Reunion thing, okay? Justin Credible was too high to perform. Last week, we got into it. You know the deal, all right? They had the show. It bombed, all right? Now, the thing is that, this is where I laugh. They did a deal at this show where 100 fans that paid $100 would get a commemorative take-home chair for this event, people. A commemorative chair to take home. And there were no commemorative chairs. People paid $100 to sit ringside to get commemorative chairs, and there were no commemorative chairs. People were told that they'll get the chairs after the show. There were no chairs. So what they did was they took some folding chairs, and they had some of the wrestlers sign them and handed it to the people and said, here you go, here's your chairs. All right. Now, when we talk about commemorative chairs, it's like WWE pay-per-views. You remember the most recent one, The Rock and John Cena on the chairs. They actually had people pay $100 to get commemorative chairs that didn't exist. Okay. Then, even better, there was an article put up yesterday. Extreme Reunion was going to air on their internet pay-per-view, it's called. Basically, they were going to charge, I think, $25, and on Sunday you could actually watch this debacle on the internet. Well, they issued a press release over the weekend saying, "Oh, we got technical difficulties and we got to iron out some problems, and then once we get this ironed out, we'll be up in a couple of weeks, and if you're not happy, we'll give you a refund." Now, the funny thing about it is that Mike Johnson actually put that article up saying that there was technical difficulties. People, do you really think that there was technical difficulties for this show, why it's not airing on the internet pay-per-view? It's not airing on the internet pay-per-view right now is because during the main event, which was Too Cold Scorpio and Shane Douglas, fans kept walking out during the show. They were chanting refund. They were chanting this show sucks. People were walking out. They were chanting SD Jones, Brooklyn Brawler. They just shit all over the main event. How the fuck is you going to fix that for an internet pay-per-view? That's the reason why they're not airing it. But Mike Johnson puts up the lie and sells it as a lie. And why am I leading all this to Mike Johnson? Because earlier today, Mike Johnson wrote an essay about why this went wrong and talked about, this person's fault and this person's fault, and maybe, people wanted too much to grasp onto ECW. Too much to grasp. You wrote 137 articles. You have a fetish. You have some type of you're infatuated with fucking ECW. It is 2012, Mike Johnson. It is not 1996. It's not 2001. It's not even 2005. And why am I shitting on Mike Johnson when I haven't done it for years? Because at the end of his article today, he writes this actually two sentences. He says, and I quote, "Everyone involved should be issuing apologies and making good to the audience. That's what ECW would have done." I'm going to read that again. Mike Johnson says, and I quote, "Everyone involved should be issuing apologies and making good to the audience. That's what ECW would have done." You stupid fucking disabled troll. You wrote 137 articles about this fucking event and shoved it down people's throats and tried to portray it as the greatest thing that's happened since blowjobs were invented. You fucking sell a bus trip. You put up a lie that there's technical difficulties and that's why the internet, and you turn around and say everybody should apologize. You should be apologizing, you fucking mark. You should be apologizing. You should turn around and because he does this shit every few years, he gets obsessed with something. He got obsessed with MLW. He gets obsessed with these little projects. He gets obsessed with the reunion show. And this fucking guy writes 137 articles. He reported when fucking Balls Mahoney shit blood. And this fucking guy, you go on PW Insider, that's all you saw for 3 months. You saw Ring of Honor stuff, you saw WWE stuff, you saw TNA stuff, and you saw fucking crazy amounts of fucking shit for this. So for every single person that decided to go to the show because you brainwash people on your website because of all of this, you deserve to apologize to everybody too. And Anon, you're a fucking retard, and that's why you're anonymous. You say I'm the one infatuated with Mike Johnson. I haven't talked about the guy for years. All right, I'm bringing it up because the guy wrote 137 articles and was fucking obsessed with it and has the nerve to say that everybody should apologize, and he doesn't open up his fucking mouth and apologize for his actions, for him being obsessed, for him fucking trying to brainwash people, for him trying to convince people, oh, you got to go to this bus trip. If there's once in your lifetime you got to see an event, this is the event to go to. That's the reason, people, why if we get into something on this show and we look into it and there's things about it that just don't jive and there's things about it that we try to keep it in perspective. And, Extreme Reuion, we didn't talk about it at all. And there were people on our Facebook page, people on a website, people private messages. Why aren't you bringing up Extreme Reuion? You should bring it up. How come you're not plugging it? How come you're not pushing it? Because it just seemed to be a debacle from the beginning to end. And honestly, and I'll leave everybody with this, and I hope TV Tracks does not put up this Extreme Reuion audio crap on the internet. It's not worth it. But for everybody listening, the reason why we did not bring it up is because I wasn't going to shit on Shane Douglas's project. Shane Douglas wanted to do the right thing. Shane Douglas thought he was doing the right thing. Shane Douglas wanted to entertain everybody. Shane Douglas also wanted to make money. And I wasn't going to shit on what Shane Douglas was trying to do, but it just seemed like it was destined to fail. And I wasn't going to shit on something that, there were good intentions on his end. So that's pretty much it, everybody. Now, if somebody in the chat room, could you put up that link to Axel Rotten's car accident so I can see what this is all about, and then I'll get out of here. For those listening on the download, for some reason there's like an 8 or 10 second delay, as if we're going to censor the show if something is cursed or something is said. For some reason, when you listen live, it's like a 10-second delay. All right, here's the article. So sometimes when I ask the chat room for something and they don't answer right away, that's the reason why. And also, by the way, I was going to mention, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I was going to say something to the chat room, and I didn't get a chance to because Kev was talking about a topic. What I was trying to say to the chat room earlier is that somebody brought up that a couple of weeks ago, Michael Cole